On the subject of the Devil's Trick, the fan fiction, another bad one. This one was bad. I It was bad. Okay. So what happens is, after the Chrysalis invasion, Twilight is really suspicious because one of the guards disappeared. She goes into the Cantrell archives to because she has like his journal, part of his journal. She tries to figure out how to find his other journal because he says he hid it in the archives. He hid it in a certain book. She figures it out. She finds the book. Um, he talks about how who could have done it, who could have had, how could have Chrysalis have gotten in so easily, blah 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 blah. So he's like, oh man, it was Princess Luna, and it's like, okay, so your excuse that it was Princess Luna is basically she wasn't there. Putting a theory or a story together because the writers are awful and they don't want to do anything. The reason that Luna wasn't at the party is because Celestia and Luna would have wrecked Chrysalis. So they were like, we can't have Celestia and Luna there, so they have to be separate. One has to be there and the other one has to not be there. And then they do the little joke about her coming in. Oh, did I miss anything? Because they know they're bad writers and they're like, what can we do? We'll poke fun at it. So anyways, hold on. What happens is Twilight's like, oh my gosh, I've got to warn the princess, and of course Luna is behind her coming up behind her in the Canterlot archives, and it's like teleport, 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 barrier, barrier, teleport, teleport or barrier. You teleport all the time, Twilight. Teleport, teleport away, teleport very far away, teleport to the middle of nowhere. Luna can't just be like, I know where you teleported to. That's not how that works. So just teleport away. No, no. Literally, the last line of the entire fiction is, "Good evening, Twilight," and then there's like a beam. I don't think this was in the story. The sound of the beam shot or whatever. It's just implied that Luna killed Twilight. Sure. You can't base a story off of bad writing on the thing and make that an interesting story. The justification was that Chrysalis was. That doesn't even make sense because it was a. It just doesn't make sense. It's just a really bad story. Like, it, it's the type of story where when you think about it, you're like, let me think about this for a second. And you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Like, you're like, okay, if what they said was true in this story, and because he's like, Luna, like, she did it to test to see if the elements could be overcome and to see if the 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 if Celestia could be overpowered. And it's like, oh yeah, why, if the elements sent her to the moon last time, why did it just do that this time? Because they explain that in the show. I mean, yeah, the writing is bad, but if you pay attention a little bit, it actually says the reason that the elements did that the second time was because the main six utilized the true power of the elements. Celestia did not. Celestia simply used them as a font for power. I've said this before. It was just to amplify her magic to defeat Nightmare. It wasn't. Celestia wasn't like, I am going to use these elements as the elements to do what the elements do. She was like, the elements are strong, and I will amplify my own magic and banish you to the moon, because that's all I could think of. That's why on the episode in season 7 or whatever, she's like, I have to send her away, and she looks at the moon, because Celestia sent Luna to the moon. It was when the main six use the elements, they're not like, we're going to do this with the elements. They're like, we will utilize the elements and they will do what they do. Hence the reason why against Discord he turns to stone, and against Nightmare Moon she gets reformed. It's just what the elements do. So that's already explainable in the fact that he's like, why would this? Because of these reasons. It's explained in the show. It's very obvious. Then you got the whole. Why would Chrysalis, Luna as shapeshifted Chrysalis, be knocked away from Canterlot if that spell was to reject just changelings? And it's like, it's like it, it, it's like, okay, I guess she played along and she went flying. Okay, well then why was this day Arya a part of it? Why was why was it's just so nonsensical. Like none of it makes sense as a story itself, as a fan fiction itself. It's That's why I said with my story, I want to ask questions and be like, does this make sense? Because if it doesn't, I don't want it in there. Because people will think about your story. Nobody's going to. I'm sure there will. That's already not true. I am sure there are people that read this story and they were just like, that was good. Oh man, crazy. I never thought Luna was the bad guy. And it's like, yeah, it's a twist for the sake of a twist that unfortunately like makes no sense whatsoever. I thought he was going to pull the Celestia argument. I don't. It it's like a murder mystery, and it doesn't make sense when the murderer is revealed. And then you think about it, and it really doesn't make sense when the murderer is revealed. And then you think about it some more, and it's like, yeah, you were clearly dropping red herrings that were especially just pointless, just to try to make your murder mystery even more. Because I was like, oh, it's Celestia and Luna because they're just going to be like, yeah, because it didn't make sense. And then I was like, well, Celestia, I guess, makes more sense because he's pushing that way because Celestia is like Twilight. You need to learn that you shouldn't pursue things too far. And it's like, okay, why would she say that? Twilight's not doing anything else. Twilight can investigate what's going on with something. She's smart. It's just a red herring for the sake of Celestia might be the one who did it, and it was just unfortunately another disappointment. That's 2 in a row, two pretty bad stories. This is a 1 out of 5. It wasn't written poorly, but it was bad. It made me tense because I wanted to see how he was going to handle it, and if it made more sense. Hey, it's Celestia. Celestia let Chrysalis in because she's mad at the kingdom or something for some weird motivation. And she let herself be defeated by Chrysalis in the hopes that Chrysalis would defeat the kingdom. Something like that. Like, oh, she has different motivations or she's unhappy because of something. Fine. But, oh, Luna's evil still. No, she got hit by the elements. No, it's because the elements should have sent her to the moon again. No, that was when Celestia used them alone. And when the elements of harmony, the main 6, when they used it and they used it at full power, it reformed. That's what it does. With Discord, you can make the argument, oh, it doesn't really make sense because Celestia and Luna didn't use it at full power, and maybe it's because you can't reform Discord. Maybe it's because even reformed Discord is still kind of a jerk. He still is very chaotic, and I saw that in the episode where he was trying to make Twilight say about Starlight Glimmer. So that could be why. Maybe it's just not possible to reform him fully like that. But yeah, just not a very. It was bad. It was a bad story. 1 out of 5 stars. Nowhere on anything. I won't forget it because it's funny because I'm like, see, everybody is like, that doesn't make sense. Even bad writers are like, yeah, it doesn't make sense that Luna wasn't there. I'm going to write a story to make it make sense why she wasn't there because she was evil and she wasn't there because of, and it's like, yeah, so even the people who are bad writers are like, guys, your stuff doesn't make sense. Even the bad writers are telling the bad writers of the show, hey guys, you guys are bad writers. I'm going to try and write something to make your bad writing better, but it's still bad writing. 1 out of 5 stars.